The J.L. Hudson Company was an upscale retail department store chain that opened in 1881 and closed in 2001. Thank you for your suggestion.
Hudson's Discovery Sale right now.
The J.L. Hudson Company, commonly known as Hudson's, was founded in 1881 by Joseph Lothian Hudson. Joseph Lothian Hudson and his father were running a men's clothing store in the lumber town of Ionia, Michigan, when the Panic of 1873 struck. When the sawmills were shuttered, their customers couldn't pay their bills. Then Hudson's father died. 3 years later, Hudson went bankrupt, paying his creditors 60 cents on the dollar. Hudson dusted himself off and started over in Detroit. On April 2, 1881, Hudson opened his first store on the ground floor of the old Detroit Opera House. In 1888, he was so successful, he looked up all of the creditors he had shorted in the bankruptcy proceedings 12 years earlier and paid them in full with compound interest. In 1891, he opened what would become the first piece of the behemoth. Many people thought Hudson was a fool opening so far north of Jefferson Avenue, then the heart of the city's commercial district. In 1909, J.L. Hudson invested in a startup automobile manufacturer, which was named the Hudson Motor Car Company in his honor. It was the same company who made the Hudson Hornet. Hudson operated the store until his death in 1912, when his four nephews, James, Joseph, Oscar, and Richard Weber, assumed control. In 1911, construction began on the J.L. Hudson department store. The store was built in 12 separate stages, the first in 1911 and the last in 1946. The complex had 2 retail basements and 23 above-grade retail floors, including mezzanines. 2 additional basements and 6 upper stories in a tower provided storage and mechanical support for the 2.2 million square foot building. After numerous additions, it grew to be the tallest department store in the world. It was 25 stories tall and 32 floors, including its 4 basements, a mezzanine, and 2.5 floors. An estimated 100,000 shoppers and employees each day filled the huge building on Woodward Avenue at its peak. There were 59 passenger elevators, each beautifully tooled marvel of brass, wood, veneer, and colored lights. The 7 dining rooms and cafeterias, plus 3 more at Christmas time, served an average of 10,000 meals a day, not counting the 6,000 meals a day served in the employee cafeteria on the 14th floor. The 13th floor dining room was renowned for its Maurice salad and Canadian cheese soup. Hudson's began its tradition of staging a big holiday parade on each Thanksgiving Day in 1924, the same year that Macy's launched its annual holiday parade in New York City. Detroit's event soon grew to become one of the nation's largest, expanding to entertain millions of spectators jammed on the curbsides in the 1950s. Hudson's also had an impressive phone system. Callers encountered few delays in getting through to the 60 operators, who received up to 32,000 calls a day on one of the world's largest switchboards. Each year, Hudson's unfurled the biggest American flag in the world. It hung over the Woodward Avenue side of the building on each Armistice Day, starting in 1923, and for other patriotic holidays. 1 mile of rope was needed to hang it. The original flag was last used in 1949 and was replaced the following year with an even bigger 7-story version that needed 55 men to hang it. Hudson's was known for customer service and its liberal return policy that would include merchandise that customers had purchased years earlier but never used. In 1952, Hudson's total sales were $175 million, but issued refunds totaling $25 million. During the 1950s, Hudson's expanded into suburban Detroit, as well as into suburban malls, followed by locations in the tri-state area. The Dayton Company of Minneapolis acquired the J.L. Hudson Company in 1969 to form the Dayton-Hudson Group, but the J.L. Hudson Company continued to operate as a semi-autonomous entity. Dayton-Hudson eventually acquired and sold several other department store chains. Though customers flocked to the suburban locations, the downtown stores still accounted for half of Hudson's business in 1961, but demographic changes continued to erode sales. Store officials even considered closing the store as early as 1971, citing $9 million in pilferage, but decided to remain for fear of the potential backlash of city officials and customers. Hudson's downtown store closed on January 17, 1983, after more than 90 years of business, but the building wasn't left vacant. Hudson's corporate offices remained in the big store with about 1,200 staff. Employees would be there until 1990, when the store was sold by Dayton-Hudson Corporation to Southwestern Associates of Windsor, Ontario. In May of 1984, the J.L. Hudson Company formally merged into the department store division of Dayton-Hudson Corporation, but Hudson stores continue to carry the Hudson name. The last corporate department in downtown moved in 1986. Dayton-Hudson sold the building in December of 1989. From 1990 until 1998, the Hudson building sat vacant, a relic of its former glory. In 1998, the decision was made to demolish the building. Hudson was bordered on 4 sides by streets filled with critical infrastructure and flanked on 3 sides by poorly maintained turn-of-the-century structures. The building was imploded on October 24, 1998. After the implosion, it became a 60-foot tall pile of rubble, then a dormant block for nearly a decade. In 2000, Dayton-Hudson Corporation took the name of its most successful operation, becoming Target Corporation, and 1 year later, it rebranded all of Hudson's and Dayton's locations with the Marshall Field's moniker, an operation purchased by Dayton-Hudson in 1990. After being briefly owned by May Department Stores, the former Hudson stores were acquired by Federated Department Stores in 2006, and all Marshall Field stores were incorporated into the Macy's chain. So what are some of your favorite memories of this place? Leave a comment or a suggestion for a future video below. Be sure to hit that like button. Thanks for watching.